Chicago, this time about a month and a half ago, both myself and Chris flew out to check out and meet with the team from Cultivate Advisors. If you've never heard of Cultivate Advisors, it is one of the leading advisory services for helping businesses that want to exit their business and do it in the best way. That's preparation. That's also the actual physical exit of the business. But the thing that I thought was really incredible is I heard a term there that I'd never heard before that came from their CEO and co-founder, Casey Clark, and he said something called enterprise value. Increase your enterprise value. And that stuck with me. It rang in my head. I'm like, well, what the hell is my enterprise value? And how do I know if I'm increasing it or not? And then when we talked to Casey, we're like, could you please come and tell our people about this? Because it blew my mind when he got into how to increase this value, what it means to back into it, and why you should be asking yourself questions about exiting. So without further ado, I'm so excited to bring the expert itself around enterprise value. Can you please give a great Playbook welcome for my good friend, the CEO and co-founder of Cultivate Advisors, Casey Clark.
They got me all excited. Good to see ya. How's everybody doing? I was about to fall asleep there when we really closed our eyes. Did anybody start to have that happen? I was a little nervous coming up here after that, so I'm glad we shook it out after. I want to ask a really important question to the group. How many of you currently lead the business on enterprise value? Anybody raise the hand? Okay, good. So there's a gap, and we need to fill the gap in the next 15 to 20 minutes. That's what we're gonna do, all right? So listen in. I wanna tell you a little bit about my background, just so you know who I am and why this is so important to me. I'll first start with, my background. Who ran a paper route or mowed lawns or went door to door to wash cars as a kid, and those were their first businesses? Well, that was my background. For me to go play travel hockey, I came from a factory town. I had to do paper routes at 4 a.m. Taught me hard work very, very quickly. Then I learned how to convince my friends to actually steal their mowers so we could go mow about 400 lawns in high school. And that's how I paid for myself to go to college. And then from there, I figured out how to run a painting franchise. It grew to about 100 franchisees and 600 plus painters. Not the most fun business. Somebody talked about painting stripes on the parking lot. Somewhere. That business is tough. Anything involving paint is tough because it is an opinion, it's subjective. When you look at something, you have to go, do you like the color of it? And do you like how it works? And that's where I learned customer service. More importantly, I learned how to scale beyond myself. And that's how I got started. Then from there, I created a company called Cultivate, which Marcus just shared about. And for those who don't know, we do one-to-one advisory. We meet with business owners and we help them turn them into CEOs by building up executive teams and putting all the foundation in place to increase enterprise value. And that's what we get to do every day. The last piece about me, and then I'm not going to talk anymore about it, we went on to actually take this into other entities. So we started acquiring and bringing in other organizations. So collectively, we work with about 160 team members, helping business owners grow and thrive their business from the finance side to the executive team side to the business owner themselves, developing to the next level. So let me talk to you about why is enterprise value so important. Scaled is an overused word, but who still wants to scale their business? Okay, so you have a desire to scale. Who at one point would like to exit the business? Who's the opposite? I have no desire to ever exit the business. Okay, we have a few team members in the room. Who thinks about when you're the executive in the room, who thinks about the dependency that you have in your department and how it's all on you, and if you're not there, it doesn't happen? Anybody feel that way? How many people just wish they could duplicate themselves, and how much easier this would be? Always the most hands. All those questions I just asked you are different ways of understanding enterprise value. And I'm gonna connect some dots here in just a moment. So my goal is I wanna help you shift the paradigm from revenue and profit to running the business in pursuit of enterprise value. And I will give you the equation here in just a moment. But if we can understand collectively as a team inside the organization, what is the enterprise value of a company, it essentially helps us understand the health of the organization. And so the way to think about this is to look at the statistics currently when people go to market. Right now, this might surprise you, only 30% of businesses that go on the market sell. Does that surprise anybody? 30% of businesses that go on the market sell. That's such a small number. Could you imagine if only 30% of the houses on the market went for sale and sold, what would happen? Let's take it one step further. From that, the surveys come out to say that only 10% of that group that sell the business feel like they got the value of what it was truly worth. So do the math for me. What percentage of business owners have sold the business at a value they expected? I heard it say louder, confidently. 3%. Where else do you go and identify that 3% success rate of what they thought the business was when you go to sell something? And that's why they say you're crazy to be an entrepreneur. To me, this is what leads to it. There's another stat that I love to talk about, which is that 50% of most exits are involuntary. 50%. We're partners with the Exit Planning Institute. They do on all these surveys to understand what drives this. And they've come down and they've distilled it to the 5 Ds that consistently come up for people. And you can see him here on the screen. You know, my father, I helped him start a business to get out of retirement, to take his mother, his wife on beautiful trips. They always wanted to travel the world. And 3 years into the business, my father passed away on Christmas Eve from a heart attack out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. We didn't have that part of the plan in the business. The whole idea was to create passive income and create an opportunity with scaled employees that he could lead from afar. But through that process, unfortunately, you can't control the health. So what happened, we were able to actually take that business because of the way it was built, and we were able to still go sell the business. And we actually locked in a license for the next 6 years, which paid for my mother to go travel the world. If we wouldn't have had the systems, if we wouldn't have had the processes, if we wouldn't have had the business built on enterprise value, we wouldn't have been able to make that happen. So even though some of you may say, I don't have a desire to exit, my ask is that just understand you may not always have control over the exit. If it's divorce, disagreement, whatever it might be, these are the leading indicators that drive these involuntary exits. And for the record, enterprise value does not have to mean selling the business. I want you to instead think about enterprise value as the way to keep score. I wish, and I challenge you all tonight, to go, what's your enterprise value when you're having fun tonight? To go, what is the enterprise value of my business? Where does that really sit at? And that will ultimately help you see the gaps. And I'm going to connect the dots here in just a moment. So enterprise value, who's ever owned a home or sold a home? Awesome, great. Everybody knows this moment. You go to, declutter the house, the honey-do list gets created, we get all the work done, all those things you've been thinking about doing for years, you finally do it. And what happens? There's this moment that you sit down on the couch and you look around exhausted and you go, why the hell haven't we been living in our house like this the whole time? This place is great. Has anybody had that experience before? Why did we wait for the next person to enjoy it? Why did we do that? What leads to that? Well, that's what running your business on enterprise value is. When you think about what is the value of the organization, and you're constantly thinking about all decisions of what does this make my company worth versus just how can I grow revenue or how can I grow profit? You start to make very, very different decisions. I'll give you a really quick example. Back to the house analogy. When I go to redo my kitchen, I'm going to make an investment. One of the first things they'll tell you if you're going to redo your kitchen or your bathroom or your basement, whatever it might be, figure out what the home value is. Who has no desire to sell their home, but still looks up what the value of their home is from time to time on all the different apps? Why do you do that? Shout it out. Why do you do it? In case you have to, because I'm curious. Why else? Understand the market. For what? You're not selling. What do you care? To take a loan on it because I want to get money for something else? Interesting. So why as business owners do we not think about this in the same exact vein? Some of us do, and what I found is the majority of companies that are truly scaling to something very large or not large, something they actually enjoy, they're thinking through this same lens of enterprise value. So when I go to redo my kitchen in my house, I am thinking, what is my house worth? How much is this going to cost? What am I going to need to invest to get the kitchen I want? And I'm running an analysis. And I'm trying to figure out, is it worth it? Have you ever heard of over-investing in a house? Well, most businesses and business owners overinvest in the wrong areas of their business at the wrong time. I can't tell you how many times we've walked in and looked, we have a portfolio of thousands of companies that we work alongside one-to-one every day. And I cannot help but share that most owners and businesses we look underneath the hood of, they've actually overbuilt in certain areas and they're underbuilt in other areas. And they don't know how to make decisions from what the true value of the business is, because it's a weird thing that nobody talks about. And so what I want to give you is the equation. You're going to take the industry multiple. So there's either a revenue multiple or a profit multiple. We're going to multiply that by the 12-month trailing of if it's revenue or if it's profit. And then we're going to times it by a health score. This is the one that everybody misses, which is why I've highlighted it. What happens is we read something in an article or online, it says, this company in the accounting space just sold for 14x. And you go back and go, I'm going to sell for 14x. Yeah, right. It's probably not what's going to happen. You have to take the max multiple of a profit or revenue, and you have to times it by a health score. Think of this as the diligence period. When you choose to go sell the company, when you choose to build the company to be able to enjoy the company in a much different way, the health is where you're always going to get thrown off. And this is what Cultivate does every day. We help owners way in advance of an exit. People don't come to us that want to sell tomorrow. People come to us years in advance and say, I want to start to build in pursuit of this enterprise value so I can actually take advantage of what's most likely the largest asset for most of the business owners in the room. This is the equation that allows you to do this. And there's a way to talk openly about it with your team members to help them understand the value. But I want to give you an example. You see the chart here on the screen. You'll notice that the actual health score of this organization is 20%. So think about your max multiple, and 20% is the actual score of it. It's so owner dependent. You don't have any of the systems locked and loaded. And here you are, you're taking a $16 million discount. I can't tell you how many times we meet with owners, we looked under the hood and we go, if we actually just tweak this, this, and this, we can double the value of your company. No more revenue, no more profit. And again, keeping score is not about more revenue, more profit. It's actually about what's the value of this company. Because at the end of the day, that's how the market's going to see you. So we've got 24 value drivers that we've identified. These 24 value drivers is what we've distilled down from looking at hundreds and thousands of transactions, stripping that down and looking under the hood of these businesses. They're very consistent no matter the industry. And I know what all of you are going to say. My business is different. Don't worry, I say the same exact thing to my wife every night. My business is different. It's not the same. I don't care what you read in the Wall Street Journey. My business is different. I want you to think about what are the 24 value drivers if you ran your business on that. I'm going to give you a couple examples of what these are. One, value 21 for us is the standard operating procedures. This is why we love Trainual. This is why we love to send our businesses to work with Trainual, because it's a way to document it. But what is this really doing is it's creating the guardrails inside of the organization. As you start to scale, as you get more people, it becomes more complicated. When you have 30 employees and you go to 31, you did not increase one new person. You actually increased 31 new connections. That's 31 more potential opportunities for an heir. When you get to 500, when you get to 600, I've experienced it. It becomes mass chaos. This is why we're all fans of Trainual and why we see the path to documenting our systems to grow the business. Let me give you another one that's really important. This is my most critical value driver, and it's around dependency. It's having people responsible in each department and being able to drive and remove all dependency from each executive in the company, as well as, most importantly, the owner themselves. This is where one of the largest discounts is when you go to sell the company in the future. It's also the one that creates the most pain for executives and owners when they're actually running the company. And I know that because I asked you all a very important question. And that question was earlier, would you like to duplicate yourself? Just another show of hands. Would you like to be able to duplicate yourself? Can we agree on that? I want to reframe what you're saying. And I'm going to hit you between the eyes here, but you need to hear it. When you say that, what you're really saying is, I wish I was a better leader. That's what that actually means. And I don't mean to be a jerk. I'm actually a really nice person, okay? But my job is sometimes to tell you that your baby is ugly. And I have babies at home. They're not ugly, okay? But sometimes I have to tell you that. And if you feel like you are held back because you are not able to duplicate yourself, it might actually be a leadership issue. So I want to give you a lesson that I was taught. It's a really, really important lesson to me. It's called the buy-in equation. Has anybody seen this before? It's because you haven't heard me speak, okay? You got to come hear me speak more. Quality of the idea times the buy-in of the idea equals the execution of the idea. I'll say it again. The Q is quality of the idea times the buy-in, the B is the buy-in of the idea, equals the execution of the idea. This is not rocket science, but this is the most simple leadership lesson I could give in the short amount of time I was given on stage today. The quality of the, when I have something that needs to be done and I go to somebody on my team and I tell them that we need to achieve this goal and here's the task and here's how I want you to go do it. The quality of that idea to me is a 10. 10 out of 10, that's a great idea. You know why? It's my idea. I love it. But what's the buy-in of the idea from the person on my team that has to go do that work? Let's call it a 3. So my quality of my idea, 10. The buy-in of the idea is 3. What's my execution level? You'll learn I love to have you do math. 30%. I get a 30% execution level. Well, that's not going to work. Most people have figured out until somebody can do something at least 80% as good as you should not move on from the task and delegate it. I've got to get that number up. So now I have a goal. I go to the team member and I say, team member, we got to make this happen. How are we going to do it? They give me the idea. I'm going to be honest, that idea sucks. It's like a 6, maybe a 7. Maybe. It's nowhere near as good as my 10. But what's their buy-in? What's the buy-in of their idea? 10. Why? It's their idea. What's my execution level? 60 to 70%. I just gave you the most basic math to show you that even though you have the best ideas, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You really want to scale past yourself? Stop using your ideas and start using everybody else's and watch how fast you scale. Watch how fast you scale. Another way I'm saying this is I want you to focus on the goal, not the path. Focus as the owner, focus as the executive leading your team on just the goal. This is the goal that we are in pursuit of. Are we aligned? Do we understand why this is so important? And acknowledge that there are so many paths up that mountain. Let them choose and get the heck out of the way. Because that dependency is you. You're the only one that's created that environment and that culture. Please don't try to forget that. And I know some of you in this room really needed to hear that today. So you can absolutely scale and have freedom, and you can run your business in pursuit of enterprise value. Once you understand all 24 value drivers, you can measure that health and understand the multiples in your business of how to get to the highest value of the organization. And it will start to change how you make decisions in the organization. More importantly, it'll help your team start to think about how to make decisions in the organization. So I want to give you all a free assessment. I worked this out with Chris to give everybody here the opportunity to do this. All right, so we have a free assessment that will actually, no strings attached, don't worry, you're not gonna get into some type of campaign. What's gonna happen is you're gonna get to go through this and actually assess and measure and get a list of all 24 value drivers. You can do this with your team or you can do this on your own. And you'll be able to walk through and analyze and get your actual formal report that'll kick out and show you where you need to focus at. From there, it's also gonna give you the highs and the low multiples of your industry, both revenue and profit. You can choose where you wanna measure. I don't care if you agree with this, because these aren't my multiples. We've pulled this from thousands and thousands of transaction data per industry, just to show you the highs and the lows. But we will give you an idea based on your health, where you might live and what the business might be worth for you. So if that's something you're interested in, you're gonna have a chance to do that. And then we'll even take it a step further because of our relationship with Trainual. If you wanna sit down with one of our past advisors. So our advisors all run their own businesses. They've all had successful exits. They'll sit down and help you build a customized roadmap of what should you go focus on. Now, of course, we would like a few of you to maybe raise your hand and go, can you help me with that? That's where we come in. But I don't care if you do at the end of the day. I'm not in charge of sales, and as I said, my salesperson will make sure that happens. And his name's Colin. He's at the back of the booth. You can go tell him, all right, why you're gonna take the assessment and not sign up. That's his issue, not mine, all right? But I strongly encourage you, get these numbers, understand where the current state of the business is, and start running and making your roadmaps when you have that time to work on the business to drive in pursuit of enterprise value. This session could single-handedly shift your mindset and completely change your financial output if you do try to exit, more importantly, I guarantee you'll love the business you run, and you'll be so much more successful at it. We've got a software called Propel Your Business. If you do decide to come on with us at some point, we actually even help you track this with your team. It manages all of the enterprise value, keeps live time feed of what's going on with your enterprise value, so you can run meetings with your teams and see the health ongoing to project manage and pursuit. So pretty slick little thing. We'd love to show you more if you see us at the booth. Otherwise, I want to end on an important quote, and there's the QR code if you want to get the assessment. You have to put your information in, it just sends it to you so you have it. Feel free to do that. But there's one quote that I've lived by and I continue to run the business by. Does anybody know who this quote is by? No one said it would be easy, they just said it would be worth it. Does anybody know who wrote that quote? Well, that was no other than Dr. Seuss, all right? I still to this day read Dr. Seuss to my kids, and one of the things that really stands out to me is at the end of the day, it's usually us that's in the way. So check yourself on the dependency and let's start following other people's paths. And let's just keep focused on the why to the goal. And with that, I thank you. Feel free to scan, and let's have a great time tonight. Bye, everybody.